coming in hot, Chinchy, on this one, brother. Fired up for today's episode. What's going on, man?
Dude, so fired up. One of my favorites all time, hands down. Not even close. I'm not even. This intro is going to take too long, so I'll just give it to you.
Well, there's so many incredible things. Listen, man, this guy's one of the most humble human beings alive, so this intro is going to make him feel a little uncomfortable, but I don't care, dude. 422 saves, sixth all time, 7-time All-Star, 99 relief man of the year, roll age relief man of the year. Played for the Astros, the Phillies, the Braves, and a couple other. Oh, here we go. Astros, Phillies, Mets, Red Sox, Braves. Incredible numbers, but more importantly, dude, I faced this guy. This guy should be in Cooperstown. That's where wore my Cooperstown shirt today. This guy should be in Cooperstown hopefully soon. He's at 68.1% of the votes. Needs 75 to get in. Let's bring him into the mayor's office here on a wonderful day. My man Billy Wagner. What's up, Wags?
Oh, Case, it's so wonderful to hear you and be in your presence.
Dude,
I love it.
Dude, it was great. It was great to see you, Wags. It was great to see you in Richmond it was almost a few weeks ago, not too long ago. But dude, just good to see you getting that Paul Keyes Award and really catching up with what you're doing. Looks like you're a high school coach right now, and you've been doing that for years. How's Billy Wagner's life right now, dude, down there in Charlottesville, Virginia?
Well, it couldn't be any better. You know, all my kids are healthy, my family's strong, they're doing well, and I get to do what I love, and that is coaching baseball and being around young people who just enjoy baseball and love it and grassroots. And so, I couldn't ask for more.
Wags, what do you love about coaching, man? Like, what does it do for you?
You know, what I enjoy is other people's success, and I think leaning on what I've been through and what I know and helping young men and women get to that successful situation emotionally, physically, athletically, just, the whole process. I enjoy helping other people reach their success. And, the reward of any coach is the success of their players, and not just in their sport, but in their life. And, it's so great and humbling when you have players come back that, maybe they're not just baseball players, they're family men, they're people who actually have a real purpose, and they went on and done something. I really feel that, I've been blessed to have that opportunity and enjoy these young men and women.
Yeah, dude, one of the coolest things for me, the other day we were at a little autograph signing. We're sitting next to each other. We got a chance to catch up and have some laughs. But all your players came up. There was a ton of dudes there that came up when you got the Paul Keyes RBI award out there in Richmond. And you could tell, if the word is, the respect they had for you, man. It was pretty awesome to see those kids. And when you went up and got the award, they all cheered, and you could tell there was a real relationship there with those guys. What is that? What are some of the things the themes that you have for these kids when you get them for 2 or 3 years when they leave Billy Wagner? What have these kids learned about life?
Work ethic, commitment, accountability, and being there every single day. And I mean, you learn that from your peers. And so going to work every day, showing up every single day. That's what I'm there. I'm there every day, 2:00, sometimes 1:00, prepping the field, prepping workouts, making sure everything's set. And that, I think consistency every day inspires a kid. When they know you're just as excited for them as they are, then there's the energy. And you have to bring the energy every day to be able to make sure that, these kids are bought in, because today's society, I mean, everything is bells and whistles, and we're pretty blue collar. I mean, I'm a blue collar person. I believe in, when it's cold and it's raining, and it's snowing. I mean, we've shoveled the field off and practiced the same day. I mean, but it's that commitment to what you want. And so, I think when they see you out there, it's not your assistant coach doing it. It's the head coach doing it. I'm out there with the shovel. I'm out there, scraping the field. I'm out there doing it. And I think that leads to what kids go, oh, well, he's bought in on me. And so, and I think Leland said it yesterday, if you mislead a kid, you lose them forever. This is something I've learned from my high school coaches and colleges and pro coaches, that when you're bought in, and you feel like they're on your side, guess what you're going to do? You're bought in, and then you're a pleaser, and you automatically want to do what's best for the team, best for the coach. You want that success to come. So that's what the kids get from me, and you can see it through what they've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, wow, man, that is incredible. And for you, Wags, I'm kind of all going to go all over the place here because I want to look at your journey. I want to look at where you're at right now. But for you, being a coach, who have been the influences for you when you're in that dugout and you're coaching these kids? And man, you might have pulled something from this guy or this guy. Who are a couple guys that come to mind that, like, man, these guys have really helped shape Billy Wagner into the man that he is?
Well, my high school coach gave me an opportunity. I was undersized, very little, and he gave me that opportunity. So Lou Peary was a huge influence on me. My college coach was also an influence, Abe Neff, and that was, they gave me the opportunity to learn through feel, through a little bit. We didn't have a pitching coach. We didn't have, Rep Soto and all these things. It was learn how to be successful. We know you're talented. Learn to be successful. As I got a little bit more polished, I think guys that really influenced me, Brent Strom.
What's so good? What's so good about Brent Strom? Everyone talks about him because what's so good about him?
Oh, he's straightforward. My first time meeting him, I'm in an instructional league, and he's got me closing my eyes and throwing to a catcher. I can't even throw to the catcher with my eyes open at that time, and so I'm throwing balls everywhere. And so, it's believing in his process. And so then you go to him, I go to AAA. I've got him, and he's straight up. He's not afraid to put you on the spot, ask you the questions, demand more of yourself, and he never takes that credit. But I'll tell you, he puts you in a situation to be successful and demands you be successful, and because he knows what he's got, and he ain't afraid to sit there and go, "Hey, you weren't very good today. You were, and and as a person, accountability is huge, and when somebody holds you to that accountability, you really understand that's how the game's played, because you don't want to let somebody down. You want to be at a high level, and so. Brent Strom was huge for me. Tim Tolman was huge for me coming through in the minor leagues, and just his calmness and allowing things to happen and not overreact and not, a short story about Tim Tolman. I had him in AA, and then I had him in AAA.
So he's your pitching. Tim Tolman's your pitching coach.
No, he's the head coach. He's the head. Okay. He's the head coach. And so he's head in AA, head in AAA. AA, I mean, it is head off. I'm dominating. The next year he gets promoted and I get promoted, and I get cut from big league camp, and I'm with him, and I come down there, and for like 2 outings I'm just getting beat on, and he pulls me in the office, calm as could be, and he looks at me and goes, "Hey, what's wrong with you? What, you look like you're trying to be a pitcher." And I'm baffled, like, yeah. He goes, "You can't worry about what the upper brass is talking about. A walk's a part of your game. Go out there and dominate. Go out there and be that dude who went out there, because you're going to walk guys. You're going to have bad moments." He goes, "But, go win. Be a winner. Winners win." And so that helped me. And, and then, he when I finally got my call up, my one call up that was going to be the last call up time for me. I'm in Salt Lake City. I'm in 7th inning. I am dominating. I am just rolling. He rolls out, takes me out of the game, comes in the middle of the inning, takes me out. I'm baffled. I'm like, what? I walk off, and I'm sitting at the end of the dugout, and I'm fuming. I'm staring at him, and he's straight game facing me. I'm pissed. I'm chirping a little bit down there. I'm like, what are we doing? And oh yeah, it's great. So shower up after game. I go to the hotel. I get a call, like 6 o'clock in the morning. So meet me in the lobby. Oh, I'm like, holy cow, now I got to deal with this. So I'll go down and I'm sitting there. He is so straight facing me and game facing me. And he goes, you know why I took you out of the game? I said, no, I don't. And he goes, she's going to big leagues, you jackass. It was so funny. Wow. He could have told me that day, but he was like, no, you're going to play this card. I'm going to get. It was the greatest thing ever. But I just kind of looked and laughed. But we had a relationship, and you could have that relationship with your coaches then. And so, guys who really, the coaches were inspiring, but, I took stuff from players too, like the Bagwells who, knew how to talk to players differently. Osmosis, Veritex, McCann.
What was it? What was it about Baggy? Because you came up with the Astros. What was it about Baggy that you loved?
You know what? He was very hard on himself. I thought didn't say very much, and as a young player, you just kind of watch. You don't say anything. And he was one to sit there and just he wouldn't. He'd look at you if you weren't doing it right. He would look at you. He didn't say a lot, but he knew how to play, and I mean, he would tell you. He would just tell you things, and that just you knew you could trust. And when you can trust somebody, you can go talk to those guys. And so Baggy's always been close to me in those regards of being able to go to him and go, hey, what do you think here? What's the what am I doing? What's happening? He could be honest with you, and you could trust that. He knew the game. He knew how you could talk to him about the little things about base stealing. You could talk about hitting, why, and then you become that. And it always became flattering when he comes to you and go, you've been with him a while, and you go, he comes up out of the blue and goes, Wags, you see anything in my swing? Because I've been sitting there watching the same thing because I'm like, well, you might be a little squattier than normal. Or you start just picking up things like that because you rely on those people you trust. And, those are one instance that makes you feel really like you're part of the team. And he really grabs you and brings you in there. And that one instance, I remember coming in and having a big inning and striking out a couple of guys in a big situation. He's high-fiving me, and, you feel like you're part of it. I also remember giving up a home run to Big Mac in St. Louis, and he comes in. He's the first one. He goes, man, I wanted to forearm bash Mac when he came around. And I'm like, what? So so the people that are real in your life are the ones that you take so much from. And having the opportunity to reach out and talk to these guys, Bert Hootens who had highs and lows, the Jimmy Williams, and even Jim Leland's that you pass, and Don Mattingly. These people have how they react to situations is how, things that I wanted to take, because I wanted to, my emotions a lot of times when I'm pitching is on my sleeve, but when I'm coaching, that can't be the case, because how your emotions show to a young adult, they lose that. So you got to keep a calmness, which is unusual for me to have to do this. And so I have to be calm. And, when something's not going right, or an umpire makes a call that we're not happy with, I can't go out there throwing my helmet going crazy, because the game at this level is not about the wins and losses. It's more about the understanding of what the pride and the ethic of the game is, and how do you teach it. And so these guys that I've learned from had that. And so my job is to teach these kids who want and aspire to be a big league player or a great high school or college player to be that person the right way.
Dude, so many things you said there, so well said, all that stuff. And you mentioned Jim Leland, because I got a chance to play for Leland in 06 in the World Series and 07. And just, you talk about trust, you talk about accountability, you talk about, being straightforward, but still loving on you. Jimmy was one of those guys, Wags, where for me, it was like, he was like that father figure where you're kind of scared of him, but he's your friend. So you don't cross a certain threshold because he'll jump you, but you also, he loves you. And I think there's that fine line. When you saw Jimmy Leland go into the Hall of Fame the other night, and that he was going to be in Cooperstown, have you crossed paths with Jim? I saw you have his jersey also in your downstairs there framed. So obviously he's had an impact on you, because I'm sure you don't have a ton of jerseys down there framed. So can you talk about your relationship with Jim and what'd you think when he got into Cooperstown?
Well deserved. I mean, as anybody has been around Leland and the impact he's had on the game and the old school mentality,
Yeah.
hey, let's go to work. I mean, and I think of him. When I think of him, I think of Larry Boa, and that I played for. And Larry would. I mean, man, I blew a save, and he would be right up. He ain't afraid to say what's on his mind, and then go to the bar and have a beer with him right then.
Right.
And understand that yeah, we're friends, and we understand what's going on, but this is a business. But I just think having the short moments just in passing, hearing little things from guys who played with him and for him, how they wanted to please this guy.
Yeah.
This guy is a super guy, and the short moment that I think I had with him was in Florida, and it was early, and it might have been in that 97, 98 era, and they're just studs on that team. And I get brought in the eighth, and Mark Hutton's pitching, and I have to get in a bat and going in. It's a tie game, yeah, or it's a 1-run lead, I think. And I hit a ground ball, and I'm running as hard as I can down to first base, and it's Florida. It's the middle of summer. I'm sweating. I look like I smoked 3-4 cartons of Jim's cigarettes before I got out there. And so I get back. I get back to dugout, and I mean, it's the second out. The guy batting behind me is Greg Biggio. So he's definitely not happy because I swung and I run down. Now he's got to take a pitch. Well, for some reason, Jim walks out. There's two outs. Jim walks out there and talks to Mark Hutton about something, and we're all kind of looking around like, why in the world would you do this? Dumbass Wagner don't run down the baseline like he was, Ricky Henderson, and now he's out of breath and sweat and tired, and so we get through the inning. I get the save. I'm walking through the hall and just had to pass. I'm like, hey, appreciate you kind of helping me out there and taking a break. I was like, it's kind of, he goes, well, I thought you were going to die. He goes, you were hauling down there, your face is all red. And I'm like, I mean, what's the chances, right? So, I mean, it's those little things like that, moments that are funny. I mean, the Joe Torres, when you watch their calmness and their influence, and really probably a guy that really stood out for me. And there were so many, Charlie Manuel and stuff, but Bobby Cox, was one of those, a player's manager, and that, as long as you put in the effort and we going out there and doing everything you could, you would never hear anything. But man, if he thought you weren't, buddy, you were gone. I remember when he came in, and he flies into Charlottesville, Virginia, to meet me as a free agent in 2000, at the end of 2009, and we're sitting around and here I am trying to sell myself because I've always been a Braves fan. So I'm trying to sell myself. And he looks over at me and goes, Wags, I'm not here. You don't have to sell me. I'm trying to sell the Braves to you. I said, well, I'm sold. What do I need to do? I'm looking at Frank Wren and Roger McDowell and Frank Wren, and I'm looking at them like, hey, what do we sign here? Let's wrap this thing up because it's a done deal for me, buddy. But just being able to have and watch him on a day-to-day basis and his influence on how players wanted to play and be the best they could be. And I mean, that's what you want then, because they know that he's for them. And there's some to being a player's manager that I enjoy it because I know the game's so hard, and I want to be able to sit there and you can't and build from that work ethic. And that's the thing that I like that these coaches that I've talked about really bring. There's a toughness in a Charlie Manuel. I saved like 30 games in a row, and I blew the next game, and he walks in, and I'm upset in my locker, and Charlie and I have known each other since I was in college, and he walks by me, punches me, knocks me into my locker. And he goes, you pissed off? And I go, yeah, I'm pissed off. And he goes, good. I don't like streaks. He goes, you stop being hungry. And, but those are guys you kind of start feeding off of, like, oh, okay, here we go. Let's, the Jimmy Williams, he was a little bit more fire, but man, worlds of knowledge. And so we would sit on the bench and I'm taking in Rick Peterson, the pitching coach, those guys that had so much influence that, they were a little different in how they coached. But, man, I used so many of the drills that I learned and stuff from those guys, and think about the Hall of Famers that I was blessed to play with Randy, uh,
Randy
Randy
Johnson.
Johnson,
Dude, what
Glavine.
Wags? I know he was only there for a little bit. What was it like? What was Randy like?
He was bigger than big. I mean, it was, when he rolled in, we got to the playoffs, but, and you still had Mike Hampton. You had great players, but you never had that dude. And there's something about a dude that when walks in there, you're like, oh, okay. Now things are going to get real. Now everybody has to step up. And I mean, he had a glare and a charisma about him that, like, hey, I'm here to win it, And I mean, he'd been successful and stuff like that. And then now he walked in, and all of a sudden you're walking into 65,000 people in the Astrodome. It's the loudest place ever. And I mean, he's pretty quiet. And all of a sudden he walks out of that dugout and he's yelling at Biggio or Bagwell, like, let's go. And I mean, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, shit, okay. He's huge. I mean, and so, it's just, you never been around a guy that had that. It's like having that Barry Bonds walk on and go, all right, I got this. Let's go to work. Hey, let's do it, and knowing that, yeah, they got this. I mean, he went 10-1.
Yeah, you could argue that was the best stretch of his career. You saw literally the best half of baseball that Randy Johnson ever threw. Case 10-1, 1.28 ERA for you guys.
And guess who he lost to?
Who?
Philadelphia. Paul Bird.
Paul Bird
beat him 3-2. It was a great game. I mean, Randy punched out a bunch, but he did. I remember Randy being so upset. I can't believe, and I'm like, me neither. I can't believe he lost.
I can't believe.
I'm just playing it up because I'm sitting there, man, you suck. And we'd take, but it was so neat because I'm blue collar. What you see is what you get. And me and him are in a cab, and I go, what are you doing? And he's like, man, suck. I said, yeah, we lost. And he's like, and he still goes out there and throws 7 or 8 innings and stuff like that. It's just fun, because guys are so, even at that level, they're so hard. They demand and commit to so much for themselves and expect. And that was Randy. I mean, when Randy went out, buddy, he didn't want the closer to come in. He didn't want that guy. And that was something that, Larry Durker was phenomenal about, because he made Shane Reynolds, Mike Hampton, Lima, Darryl Cobb. He made them tons of money because he's like, hey, don't look down there. Don't look down there. I mean, you look at my career in Houston, I wasn't getting 40-plus saves here because, hey, it might be a 2-1 ball game, but if Mike Hampton's rolling, Billy Wagner ain't coming in the game.
Wow.
Because that was the way it was played. And, I knew that. And so you expected that. And I came in the game and there was chaos there. That's how that worked. And so, those guys taught me a lot how, Larry Durker, one of the bright minds of the game, that taught me about, making that starter be committed. And now take that to these young players who are looking at, hey, if I get through 4 innings, I'm like, 4 innings? What are you talking about? And my son's a sophomore. He's a pitcher, and I'm like, I'm not looking for. You got to learn how to do this in you can't throw 150 pitches. But I said, you got to look to throw under 100 pitches. So it means you're looking to finish the game. You ain't looking for help. You want to be that guy. So those are things that old school about me. But nowadays, coaches are it's a little harder to coach because of what goes on around them.
Oh man, that's so well said. Larry Durker too. I had a note that said that you also give him credit too for making you a closer.
Oh gosh, I mean, Terry Collins was awesome. I tell you, when I got to the big leagues, Todd Jones, John Hudak had gotten hurt, and TC just kind of said, hey, let's go. And so, he rolled me out there, and I'm new to the big leagues. I mean, I'm out there. Let's go. And being naive helped a little bit, but stuff I could just go out there and let her eat for an inning and whatever, and not even worry about it. And you know what? TC kept running me back out there, and there's confidence in somebody giving you that ability to keep going out there. And I mean, we're in a pennant hunt, I mean, Bagwell, Bishop, they don't know me. They don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can handle this. I'm out there just rolling through this. And so, and then in 96, or 97, it was the end of 96. I was in Puerto Rico and I'm playing and I was starting. Down there starting. And Larry Durker gets the job. He comes down like 2 days later. Him, Matt Galante, Vern Rohr sitting there, and we're playing golf. We played golf in Puerto Rico, I feel like, every single day. And so I was starting pitcher. So, I mean, that's what you do. And so we go out there, and he's smoking a cigar, and he looks at me and goes, Wags, what do you want? Do you want to be a starter or do you want to be a closer? I said, well, how many times do you want to win a year? Because I don't even care. That's just how I was built. But I said, I don't have 3 pitches that are going to just be dominating. And big league hitters are too good to just roll me out there. I said, now you give me an inning, 2 innings against somebody. Now we've got a fighting chance, and I can go out there 3-4 times a week, and we can win these games. And so he's like, all right, here we go. And just as he kept taking me out there and put me in it. I mean, a lot of confidence to give me when I failed, and so you couldn't help but want to go back out there every day and pitch, and felt like, if you had a bad game, you weren't going to be sitting on the bench. You were going to keep getting opportunity. And that's how closers get that confidence. That's how Mariano got his confidence, and Trevor and John, because if Joe Torre would have said, Mariano, you blew a game here, you don't look like you can handle it. Let's just sit you down here, that changes. That confidence a manager gives that closer is really impressive when they win or lose.
Yeah. Dude, knowing you and obviously facing you all these years, and obviously whenever you'd come in, I'm like, here we go. You know what I mean? Like, they were in for an absolute dogfight here. Lefty on lefty, Wags is throwing. I bet you, Wags, if the guns were the same guns they are now, you were throwing 105, 106. Because I'd look up on the board at Miller Park and be like 101, 102. I'm like, what? And that was back in like 99, 2000, 2001. But when you look at your career, as I looked out at you and you're talking now as a manager, and the old school stuff you talk about, and you're a blue collar guy, and can you go back to the beginning, man, where your upbringing, and how did that shape your tenacity and your resiliency and your perseverance and everything that you are as a man and everything you were on the mound? Because, dude, let's face it, man, in high school, as you grew up, you weren't that big of a dude, right? You were 5'5". You couldn't even get a Division I offer, but you end up going to Ferrum and end up throwing like 1 billion miles an hour, and you grow a little bit and you become one of the greatest closers ever. But take us back into the beginning of your upbringing, and how did you get to where you got to?
Well, I tell you, my faith plays a big role, because I truly believe God has a path for me, and whether I want it to be that way or not, God has always put people in my path that have directed me in the right ways. And every morning my grandmother would read the Bible every morning religiously. Didn't matter. And I went to 11 different schools. I was raised by just about every person in my family at some point.
Right.
But there was my mother gave me that survival type thing. Do whatever you got to do to survive. I mean, you don't realize how difficult it is until you're on food stamps, or when you're getting free lunches, and all of a sudden you got to survive, and everybody's making fun of you. And so, what drives you? And it's that free lunch. I don't want to be on that free lunch. And so, and now I've got to fight for my acceptance to society of like, you know what, I am good and I deserve this and I can commit to this. And so when you go out there and you commit to playing constantly, of like playing uphill, and that's what I felt like. I'm playing uphill. I'm little, nobody's expecting anything. Oh, you can't do this. And there's a point where you just go, well, I'll show you and I'll show you. And so you have that blue collar, that little chip on your shoulder, and that's how it is. But, I felt like when I was in high school, my high school coach kept giving me that little, hey, keep going. So that helped. And then I think the fight that kid give me. Somebody was always, and those are the things I think people don't realize. You need the people to doubt you at times so that you can be better. And I mean, even when I got drafted, I had scouts go, I wouldn't have drafted you. You're too little. You're too this. And I was like, thank you. Because those are the things for me that gave me that fire. I'll prove you wrong. And that acceptance. And, to this day, as I sit here, I think about the times I was in the big leagues, and all of a sudden I walk around and I'm getting a Rollies award, and I'm standing beside Mariano because he just won it. And I'm sitting here thinking, am I good enough to be in this? Is this luck? Is this one of those things that, because it's always that you're trying to fit in and the acceptance and stuff like that. And then you sit here, and then I think that's something that built me to be that guy. I mean, football was big in my life because it allowed me to get physical, and I could hit people without getting in trouble. And then there were just things I could, and I could get hit and realize that this is probably not the sport for me. But I think those are things that along the way you start to understand that what drives you, and that's something I talk about with our young kids today. What drives you? What commits you? What makes you want to be better than everybody else? And so, my mom gave me that survival, that rock, that, hey, you're going to have to fight for everything. And so it's not going to be easy. And so I never looked at it as being easy and I was going to have to work. And so I never was able to accept myself as really being good. And there was always this little doubt, but that was that fear of failure that drove me to be the best that I could be when I got out there. And I think there's just, for everybody, there's these journeys like you had coming up and having to find a way to get to your dream, and then going out and proving everybody wrong, figuring out, hey, I can play first base. I can go out there and I can hit. I can do these things. And I think that's what makes the players what they are. And so once you find out what drives you and what you're committed to, those are things. And that's seriously what drove me. And, to this day, the blessings that I've gotten for it is, my mom has a house behind me because now she's my example of, surviving and competing and getting what you want by working hard.
Wow, man. Your story is absolutely phenomenal, man. And I feel that way too, man. A lot of things I had. This guy's too slow, doesn't hit for enough power, can't play defense, all that stuff. I always felt like, thank you. I'll put the chip in the bag. Put the chip in the bag. Like, collect the chip. I tell people, collect the chips. When people are going to tell you can't do it, collect the chips and use it to become better.
I'm using that today, by the way. I'm going to use that today with our guys. I collect the chips because I think that is important. I mean, people don't realize that some of the great players got that way because of that. Not everybody was blessed to just be talented. I mean, good Lord. I mean, that's the thing. You look at the Roy Oswalds, the Dustin Pedroias, the guys, everything that was said to them, the guys that, there's probably 95% of the guys who walked out there that had to put that chip in the bag because somebody was going, you're not big enough. I mean, the Yankees told me I wasn't tall enough to play in the big leagues. And I mean, my first outing against the Yankees was part of a no-hitter. So I was like, absolutely, here we go. Chip in the bag, big guy. Thanks a lot. And those are big moments that it's how you work out. That's that fuel that feeds the fire. I mean, going out and running and lifting when you don't want to, or doing some of these things that you don't want to because that guy has said something. And I tell our kids to this day, like some of the greatest things, like my oldest son is in AAA right now.
Yes.
And we're in travel ball, and I'm not coaching him. I'm kind of just sitting back watching him. I'm like, I'm going to let guys, he needs to be coached by somebody. And one of the coaches, they're doing the 60s, and they're doing all this big league workouts. I memean, here's a kid who's 11 years old or 12 years old. He's not very big. His feet are huge. His hands are huge. He's just, and the coach is going, well, you'll never play. You're never going to be good enough because you just can't do this. You can't do that. And he's crying, and I'm as a father, I'm furious.
Yeah.
But I walk up, I pat him on the back, and I said, I want you to look at this guy. I said, I want you to think about this guy every single day. What he told you couldn't do. I said, he's going to be the guy when you're on your podium and you're accepting that Hall of Fame award and go, I'd like to thank this coach right here for inspiring me to be the greatest player ever, because that's what it takes, because not everybody's going to roll out and be a superstar. I'd love to have went out there and went, oh gosh, I'm Mike Trout. I'm 6'4", I'm 200 and this, and I can just roll out of bed and, jam myself and it's up in the tree. Those are wonderful gifts. And, those are guys that you wanted, you like, man, I love that. But for most guys, the Sean Casey's, the Billy Wagners, the Roy Oswalds, they don't have that luxury. It was, hey, tuck it on tight and cinch your belt, because you're going to have to go to work and you're going to have to do more. And so, and you're never going to feel like you're as good as you can be or should be, or, am I good enough? I mean, when you and I went to our first All-Star game, I mean, you look around that room and who you're looking at? Jaws. I mean, every guy that we watched in the big leagues, we're watching these guys and you're going, holy cow. Me, you, Kevin Millwood, we're sitting there looking at things, looking around, and, Big Mac's walking by us and we're like, oh my God.
There goes Tony Gwynn. There goes Randy Johnson. There goes Matt Williams. I'm like, I remember. Hey, Chinch, this is a great story. So when you get to the All-Star game, they give you a box of hats, right? And so it's cool what you do is you exchange the hat. So you sign a hat, you give it to somebody, and Wags is such a great dude, and I knew Wags a little bit. So we were talking about, we were kind of the new guys, and I'm looking around, I'm like, Randy Johnson, I ain't getting a hat from him. Tony Gwynn, I ain't asking him for a hat. But I turned to Wags, the first guy. I go, hey Wags, you want to exchange hats? He's like, yeah, let's exchange hats. So me and Wags, I still have Wags's hat, but it was those moments too, where you're like, I think that was one of the questions for me. I'm like, I'm 25 years old, even though I'm having a great year. Man, do I belong here? I'm in the big leagues. Do I belong there? Now I'm at the All-Star game in Fenway Park in 1999. Do I belong here? But those are all the stepping stones that make you think like, you know what? I freaking do belong here.
Absolutely. I mean, those moments are what gives you the confidence down the road. And that's exactly what I thought. I mean, I remember my last year in the big leagues, I've been successful, but it was still, what, I knew I was retiring. It is a point where, when's enough? When is, being in control of your career? And I mean, that was, I think sometimes I was very proactive about my career. I mean, when I had Tommy John, I had managers and people go, hey, you've had a good career, pat, rub. And I'm like, no. You don't tell me when I'm done. I'll tell you when I'm done. And that's that survival mode, that people don't realize. And, that comes out of being, oh man, you're arrogant. You're this. No, this is my life. This is what, I've got a short window, and you're not making the rules for me. I'm going to make the rules. And so you go out there and you commit to really getting after it. I mean, when I had Tommy John, I think that was another one of those moments that you go out there, because everybody's going, I don't know if he'll make it back. I remember, I make it back in 10 months, and I'm throwing in these games down in rehab and A-ball, and I'm calling Omar Minaya every night because I'm dominating. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to go. Well, let's take it. No, I finally told him, I said, well, I'll be up there on Monday. I flew home, drove up, and rode out, and I remember Fred Wilpon, and Fred Wilpon was a great owner for me. He goes, when he went and got Freddie Rodriguez to be the closer when I got hurt, he called me and patted me on the face and said, hey, when you get back, I'll be in the bullpen for your first bullpen, and I'll help you find a place. I come out, I meet with everybody. I said, and they go, well, we really need to see you throw a bullpen. I said, all right. Well, Fred Wilpon's waiting in the bullpen for me to throw this bullpen, and I'm throwing it, and I am lightning. Here we go, big guy. Boom. And, all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, crap. How do we handle this? How's that going to, Wagner's probably going to want to close. And I told myself, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to show you that I can do this and win. And so, Fred gave me the old pat to the face and says, hey, I'm going to take care of you. And, I made 2 appearances. Boston, Tito calls me and says, hey, we want you up in Boston and stuff. And so I'll go up there and I do well. And then, I'll go, and it's just everything leads you to that point based on how you handle it. I mean, you can be angry and quit if it's not what you want, and or you can work a little harder and prove them wrong. And that's, I mean, Sean, I think those are the stories that people don't hear and understand. I mean, when I kind of questioned going to Boston because I wasn't sure, I didn't want to go there in the playoff hunt. I'm like, man, I'm two appearances in. I don't know where this thing. I'd hate to go up there and not do well,
Right.
And I've got media wearing me out about why wouldn't you do this for the Mets? They've given you so much. Why wouldn't you go there and let them get the prospects? And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. And those are things. And, going and setting up for Papelbon was so much joy. I had so much fun sitting there watching him, enjoying his success that was one of those things. I was like, man, being a coach I'd like to be a coach because, I do like other people's success. And it's exciting to watch somebody else be successful because, my college coach gave one of my teammates one of the greatest lines, and he says, when you learn how to be happy for other people's success, when your success comes, they're going to be happy for you. And I've taken that to heart because I do enjoy watching somebody's success. I think it's fun to watch them and be happy and smile and give, because that really is the joy of what we're working for.
Wow. Case, I got to jump in because two quick things. First, you say going off on your own terms. How's this, Case? 2010, 38-year-old season, Atlanta, where you always wanted to play. How's this, Case, for going out on your own terms? 7-2, 1.43 ERA, 37 saves in 69 and a third.
Thank you very much.
To the house. So I got to ask you two things. You can react to that one, and then I have to just bring up the other. And by the way, I'm a short guy, so like I'm ready to go jump through this wall after this. I'm so fired up, and you've always been an inspiration to me as an athlete and just in my career. So I appreciate you for that.
Well, thank you.
I got to go back, man. Did you really? Are you really right-handed and you threw lefty because you hurt yourself? Can you tell everybody the story? It's not talked about enough how amazing this story is.
Well, I take when I was younger, I played football. Football was my greatest love. I enjoyed it. I mean, my uncles were football players, and we go every Friday night to watch my uncles, and it was just so much fun. And my cousin was a great athlete, so I'd go watch them, and so that's what I want to do. So in the front yard, I'd play with my friends, and one time I was playing with them, playing hat football because we didn't have a football, and I threw up my hat, the guy attacked me and landed on me and broke my arm. And so, I'm in a cast and whatever. And so, I'm probably still playing and not even knowing it. But then I get that cast off, a couple months later, I'm on the monkey bar. So I'm climbing around, I fall off, break my arm again, and you just, that's that craziness. And all of a sudden, I'm left-handed and I don't know the difference. I have no idea. I'm just playing and going about it. I think there's only one other person in my whole family that's left-handed, and so but I can't do anything left-handed other than throw a ball. If I had to eat them, I would stab myself in the eye. I mean, it is really funny to watch. There's not. I mean, kids will laugh because I'll do pitching lessons and I'll do some things with kids, but I'll do it right-handed, and they're looking at me going, aren't you left-handed? And I said, yeah, but this is what you're doing. So I'm going to show you. And left-handed, because left-handed is, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times that I get up there and I'm acting like I'm pitching, but I'm right-handed. But it's just one of those things you put in your mind. And, but you never know what that blessing is. And then, the 2010 year was so unique. I was in spring training. I was having a normal spring training. I walk into Bobby's office opening. I think it's the day before opening day, and I walk in. I said, Bobby, I think I'm gonna retire after this season. And I had a 2-year deal, and I go, I'm gonna retire. And he's looking at me like, "Wow, what's wrong with you, man? You look great. You're good for probably 2 or 3 more years, And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to be home. I'm ready to be home. And so, I'm thinking it's just gonna be between me and Bobby. And next thing you know, within batting practice, I come in and here's the media going, "Hey, Bobby just said you're retiring at the end of the year." And I'm like, yeah,
no.
yeah. And which, what people wouldn't think is all of a sudden, if you go out and have a bad year, they're like, yeah, he needed to go. He's done, But now you have that good year, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, what? Here we go!" You cannot win, you can't win, and I mean, I think Farrell, when he got the job out in Toronto, he called me. I had 2 or 3 offers over the next couple of years about coming back and pitching and stuff like that. But going out on your terms, it was something I want to do for my family. My kids are important. My wife's important. My relationship with my wife and family, after being selfish for 16 years and really not knowing how to be a husband, not knowing how to be a father, and trying to figure it out, because I know that I've got to be a better leader of my house. And so trying to figure that out was something I knew I needed to do for my kids. And when I was able to get in there, if I wasn't worried about it, because you just didn't know. Was 400 enough? Was 500 enough? Did you need 100 more innings? Did you need this? I didn't know. Nobody knew, because it wasn't something that was, closers weren't getting into the Hall of Fame and stuff like that. And so you just didn't know. And so when I retired and become that father and stuff, and then became a high school, that's when everything, then everybody's like, yeah, you probably should have played another 2-3 more years.
Right. Well, let's stay there, because obviously you are obviously, like I said, when you're a player and I played 12 years in the big leagues, and you play against your peers, who the Hall of Famers are. Billy Wagner is a Hall of Famer, hands down, take it to my grave, no doubt about it. And anyone that faced you, Wags, would say the same thing. There's no doubt about it. You're on the cusp of Cooperstown. You're on, I believe this is your ninth year on the ballot, right? You're at 68.1%, and you've risen hard in these last few years, which you should have, right? Your numbers are incredible. You talk about with a minimum of 900 innings, you have the highest ERA plus, second highest, only to Mariano Rivera at a 187. He had a 205. Elite numbers, highest strikeouts to walk ratio too. I think you struck out 33.2% of all the batters you faced. Opponents have a 187 opponent batting average, lowest in the history of the big leagues. Like, we're talking 101 here kind of stuff. What about you, Wags? What's your feeling about the Hall of Fame? You just said, hey, if I played a couple more years, you probably would have been in 5 years ago. But, here you are with your 9 chance. You're 68.1% away from the 75% of chance of getting in. What are your feelings, brother? The vote's coming up in a couple months, and how are you feeling about this whole thing?
Oh, it's very, very nerve-wracking at times. This is the first year, because I'm so close. I feel close, that I've really got to kind of separate myself from it. I mean, yes, do I check? I check and see, if I've got any votes. But I really try to stay as far away and really dive into, my family and high school baseball, just because I am not good with disappointment. And that's, I am not good. There's nothing I can do anymore to influence my numbers. My numbers are my numbers. And, I've had people ask me, you need to reach out to voters and you talk, but why do I need, I don't know these voters. I don't feel like that's something you should have to do, promote yourself. If they don't think you're a Hall of Famer, I calling them and going, hey, you're a great writer and you should really vote for me, because I just don't think that's what you do. And, I think what gives me comfort is knowing that guys, like you said, that face me, know that. They know that. I know who a Hall of Famer is. I know what that looks like. I know what it is to play at a high level. And so many people really didn't get to see me play, and they have no idea what that respect is and how I go about that. The voting is more political than it is numbers, because numbers are not the telltale. There used to be really telltale things in 300 wins, 3,000 hits, 500 home runs. Those were things that had to happen, and like 1,500 RBIs. Those were numbers that closers didn't have that, because relievers didn't have that. Then nobody knew. But then you start talking about dominance and error. You just don't know what that is anymore. And I think when you look at numbers in that era and you put them together, and when you're looking at who is the top players in relievers, and you sit there and you go, oh, okay, Mariano, there's Trevor, there's Wagner. All of a sudden you're like, well, this number is better, and this number is better. Everybody had their gift, and saves are unpredictable because you can't go up there and go, well, I'm gonna get a save tonight. It doesn't work like that. And so I think that going through this process has been very toxic. It's toxic at times because I think you can look on the internet and read from somebody about how many times you shouldn't be there and how many times you should be there. And so you can become, disgruntled, but just because you're like, what do I got to do? And so, I've kind of backed away and tried not to indulge myself because it's very easy to go, what do you got to do? Who do you got to impress to do that?
Right. Man, I think there is probably, I know for you, probably a certain surrender that's just like, God, it's going to happen if it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But like I said, man, as a man, dude, you're one of the best guys this game's ever seen. And anyone that's been around you knows that. And as a player, man, there's not many closers that I've faced that are nastier than Billy Wagner. I just know if you want to talk about an uncomfortable few minutes for you as a player, I was very uncomfortable. So I'm sure most people that faced you were, brother. And I just hope in a month and a half from now, the writers tally up and take a look and make sure that, hey, listen, Billy Wagner is one of the greatest closers of his generation. 75% should be hopefully, the threshold that you get up to now in this 9th chance. And we're hopefully, celebrating you and Jim Leland this year going into Cooperstown.
Well, I appreciate that, but that's the greatest compliment is from your peers, and hearing that from somebody that I've always admired in you and stuff that means a lot. So I really appreciate that.
All right, Wags. Well, dude, thanks for your time, man. Go coach up those kids, brother. Get in there. And I know you're not Billy Wagner, the Hall of Famer in that dugout. You're probably, all right, coach is getting on us again. What the heck's, why are we running so many sprints? What the hell's going on around here? So good luck with the kids, man. And I'll be talking to you soon, Wags. Thanks again, man.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks. I appreciate you, Sean.
Okay, brother.